Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have solved a little bit of those technical issues, but we're gonna get right back to it on that topic. Just talking about that comfortability aspects on just basic gaming lounges and hand and hold. But we're gonna go move on to the second, kind of more in depth detail and question on there, which is kind of the importance on how comfort plays to those students. For example, soundproofing, lighting, the aesthetic, what's some key points that you guys incorporated, whether involvement or even advice wise, into that setup? Because I know that the expansion that Conestoga have, lighting is going to be an important thing, and especially when you want to set that mood for a top tier game that's going on. It's very interesting seeing some of the planning that go in. So I'm gonna start off with Chris to kind of dive into that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll start with maybe more into like our current gaming hub. One of the key things for sound for sure is ensuring that this room here, our production room, is soundproof because it is glass and um, communication back and forth and whatnot. Also, there's classrooms across the hall. We don't want gamers screaming and interrupting classes if something's going on in class. But yeah, when it comes to the upcoming esports arena, a lot of thought has gone into all of the different aspects and actually the size of the room. And Val kind of mentioned it before. Beyond gaming, what can we do in that space that would work? So say somebody wants to host a concert or a dance recital in that space, how would sound work? How would lighting work and all of these pieces? And that will come along with the engineers who are working in the space as well with their knowledge and all of these. That room also kind of separates between it's a 10,000 square foot space, but it also breaks into two rooms, which would be a classroom in the back during the day and then the gaming floor. So we have to worry about all of these different aspects of what's going on and continue to develop as time goes. And we'll have a little bit of time to like workshop it and sandbox it before we actually open, but it's going to be practice. But all of those pieces have been thought of. And when you're talking about comfort, just a quick piece too, we just went through a process with our health and safety team to test all of our gaming chairs before they were purchased and get deployed out into space. So um, knowing that specific gaming chairs, if they have the lumbar support, how long are these students going to be sitting down and enjoying the gaming space, just to make sure that we're thinking about their long-term health as well when they're in these spaces. But that's the long short.
The long short. But it's very important to think about the long short, as you mentioned, because you have to think about what you need to expand, like maybe some upgrades, maybe if things like it's technology. Let's be
Mhm.
honest, how many things have you guys had to fix in your lifetime? There's a lot of stuff that breaks. So you have to find out, maybe you can take advantage of that situation and make it even that much better. I'm gonna go to Valerie next to have their point of view on their aspects of things, Sinclair.
Yeah, of course. Just to piggyback off of Chris's mention of like the soundproof rooms and things like that. At St. Clara facility, we have an esports academic program as well. So our esports classroom doubles up as well a classroom, and also the broadcast room is where our caster desk is. And within that room, there's five. I'm in one of them right now. I always forget the number. There's five breakout rooms that we have that are all soundproof, and they're actually green screened walls. So behind this step and repeat, it's actually a green screen wall, and they're all made with the intention of giving students opportunities, whether they want to stream on it or they want to create content on it, or even having external opportunities. So, for example, like the Esports Canada streams, we had some of our academic students run the stream in one of these rooms. And with the flexibility of these rooms, they're all soundproof, they're all within the same space. We're able to run multiple projects at once and just give opportunities to students to, pursue their own things, create their own campaigns and projects. And I think that the soundproof private rooms is really important to our space. And keep in mind, right, as a college, we're not just esports focused. As a college, there's student opportunities for non-esports students as well, as a college whole, like if we could run panels and convention style events in our stage and area, all those are kept in mind in the design of our facility. It's not just esports and gaming. So the soundproofing and lighting, we have a whole lighting system as well with spotlights and different lighting as well. And honestly, we don't even use them that often for esports events because our students prefer them off. But it's definitely contributes to a lot of other content stuff that we use, like for photos and videography and things like that. So all of it is just it's a big investment at the beginning of building your facility, but it will almost always pay off.
Hmm. Yeah, like it's it's very interesting to see some of like the insider perspective as well. Even Gianni just comments from students on how they react, how they feel around these aspects, maybe some feedback. I know some places even do feedback forms where they just have free forms for students to just add any inputs, any comments, to be able to see like, hey, what would you like out of the space that you spend the most time here? And I know people that spend more time in that like gaming lounge, whatever the college or university has hosted, more than their actual classes itself, just because it's just a welcoming space, a comfortable space, just to relax there, even just to have lunch and say hi to some friends, right? It's very, very impressive to see some of the aspects that people do within this facility. Alex, if you want to go next.
Yeah, of course. I think I can give a unique perspective. So our space opened in 2019. So Durham was one of the first spaces to kind of commit to like having a dedicated esports space on their campus. We're about 3,000 square feet, so a little behind Chris and St. Clair, but so our space was essentially a converted bar. Like our campus bar, they converted part of that into esports. So, a lot of the keywords are being said right here, like soundproofing, lighting, realistically were not kind of thought at that time. So, when I kind of came into my position, those are things I obviously heard that feedback from the students of like, why is it so echoey in here and stuff like that. So it really kind of speaks on the importance of these things when you're planning, right? And just a little bit of a spoiler, we are looking at, a few years down the road, hopefully we'll have a new space on campus for esports. So
Ooh,
these are already
okay.
things like on my mind of what the new space is really going to look like. And obviously I'm going to look from, for inspiration from other organizations like Conestoga, like St. Clair, like Keanu, and kind of reach out and get that feedback of, just learning lessons. Because I think at the end of the day, we just want to all bring these inclusive spaces to our campus, right? So we all want each other to succeed.
Yeah, I definitely know Fanshawe is trying to do the same thing as well, where they're trying to ask, from the friends at arms, hey, we're looking at they've always wanted to have that goal of expanding one day if everything goes well. Uh, so I don't know I don't know any internal plans, unfortunately. No sneak peeks for me. But I know that's always a goal, at least for every single organization within the intercollegiate or collegiate as a whole as well, that they just want to be able to provide that big space, make everybody comfortable and have and just as you said, just kind of like the complaints and actually hear them out, because like every game developer, every director, every staff member has to hear those complaints with at least a grain of salt to be able to input them, but input them in the right way. Myra, if you want to go next.
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely want to comment back onto what Alex was saying there about the comfort of the players and everything. Like a big thing for us is we are a much smaller space than both St. Clair and and what Conestoga have, just because we're a smaller school. But with what we have everything segmented to where you can control the lights on an individual like zone basis. And one of the things that the players really like the most is that in our practice room, the private room for the teams, players can come in anytime they want, scan in, hang out and play. And a lot of them are very particular on how they set the lights. There will often be times when I would come into the office at 10 a.m. I see the lights off, but I see a glow of a screen because someone just finds comfort playing their Valorant solo queue with the lights off, right? Even when we look at the stage area we had in our esports arena, you could adjust the lights that were shining directly on the players. You can adjust the lights that would shine into the crowd area just to get it like dialed in for the players. because at the end of the day, like, you are catering to their comforts, you are catering to what works for them, but having it be that you can change it up whenever there's a rental, whenever there's classes going on, whenever there's open times, having it be that, yes, you can meet the demands and asks of your players, but also meet the demands and asks of everything else that takes place in your space.
Yeah, it's very, very good to take advantage of that. I'll be honest. And I know I sound like a broken record here, but it's just keeping that to me, keeping that importance of having those comments, questions, and even hopefully not concerns go into your databases or your data banks, whatever it goes to, is very key, even for kind of like the mental health aspect, because some people, they have tough days. They want to go to a space that's very nice. They want to go to a space that's very relaxing. Stress from exams, IRL, stress from whatever may happen. It's very impactful to be able to give that experience to a student. But yeah, that kind of goes into the next question for myself, because I want to know about some of the maintenance and security protocols that kind of go into a gaming space itself, and how a place should be managed in that aspect. Because like I said, people go there for to be able to de-stress. So if there's sometimes there's a couple bad apples in those bunch, we don't really like having people that kind of interrupt everything that's going on. So I want to see how is that handled, managed, and if you're allowed to say, was able to be set up. And I'm going to start with Alex this time.
Yeah, of course. So I know at Durham, kind of how our structure works is, we have set hours that kind of is just open play for students to drop in between classes. And then for the varsity teams, they do have after hours access. So I think it really is important. If you are starting a program, no matter how large or small, you really do have those discussions with some external teams within the college. Whatever the name is, but basically like the on-campus security team, just getting them looped in from the start, especially after like access on weekends is a very big thing, because their job at the end of the day is making sure people aren't going places where they're not supposed to be, right? So again, for us, it's really just working with the varsity program, making sure only the coaches have access. That's kind of how we decide to do it over at Durham specifically, for any after hours or weekend access. And then that's communicated with on-campus security. And then just for day-to-day, we do have like a code of conduct that we kind of, and I'm not saying it's anything super like hardcore. It's just basic stuff like, respect the space, respect others in the space, respect equipment. And we ask all students to kind of review that, and we kind of, we adjust as we go. For example, we have a sign that says shoes must be kept on at all times. And people come in the space and they're like, do you really need a sign for that? And I'm like, unfortunately we do, because and it didn't just happen one time, right? It's not a one-time thing. It takes a few times for us, and then we're like, we should probably have a sign for this, or maybe a rule or something. So it's kind of finding that balance of yes, this is a space that we want students to come and have fun and be engaged on campus, but just for the nature of the space, we kind of there has to be some structure and rules around it as well.
Yeah, I want to immediately double up on that, because we very similarly have had to add, we had that rule at Keanu. Our console area is couches, which is very comfy and very fun, but people take it a little too close to what a living room might be. And oftentimes will, sit down, kick their legs up, take their shoes off, go play FIFA with their friends. This was like happening daily. So it was definitely a rule we had to communicate. Just to like go off of that on how we operated at Keanu. During our open hours, we had students that were hired as staff, as arena staffers. Essentially, their jobs were helping people set up on stations, making sure nobody broke the rules, giant poster boards on the walls saying the rules, very visible for everyone, and just making sure there's a good flow of everything. For the actual room itself, during the off hours, any of our student athletes can use their student ID, scan the little scanner next to the door, and get in, and that's 24 hours. Security is aware of this. They know how the system works. It's constant communication with them. So if a player's just bored at 11 p.m. on a Sunday and has nothing better to do, comes down from his dorm and wants to play some Valorant, right, can hop on like that. Or if people want to come in between classes, before their classes, just hang out in the morning, have a place to even just study. Some people like to just hang out at the tables in the open areas too. Oftentimes coming into work, varying hours, but on an average day of a 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., I'd often just come in and see players just hanging out doing their thing throughout the day. And I really like to have that flow where the players get full access and there's that trust and communication built up. And then having it be that we have clear communication to anyone who's really a guest in our space about what we expect for them.
Yeah, it's very like it makes me kind of feel better to hear kind of these instances because even working with Fuel, we've had a couple of those bad aspects and those bad apples in that case scenarios. It's very very unfortunate to have those instances or experiences for other students to go through, and it's very 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 important to keep that aesthetic going. You want to be able to keep a rhythm of making sure that you have the correct response, the right response, and an efficient response. I'm pretty sure, Chris, you can go next.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, lots of similarities across all of the spaces here. One card, scan in if you're staff to open up the space. Some of our athletes have access as well. We are open across the board from for our operating hours, which I think right now, like let's use 10 to 8 p.m. for an example, where anyone can drop in. All student access only or staff as well, as long as they've got that card, and they can come in and game for 3 hours at a time. Um, Special events or whatever it is, there would be security clearance, which I've heard a little bit as well. They get a list at the beginning of a term or before an event onto who's coming to the space, what their access would be granted and whatnot. They need to have badges on sometimes as well, depending on what the event is. We're actually toying with the idea of public access, but it's going to be a very interesting conversation. I know Durham used to have public access hours way back in time. But yeah, ensuring that all of this is all set up throughout, and then if a specific class wants to host in our space and use the hub as a classroom, we have that opportunity as well. Same thing, has to be booked in advance, go through security, all of these wonderful things.
Yeah, we got some
I don't think I
pictures.
have a sign about no shoes right now, so
Yeah.
we don't have. But if
Which
there's a
You might
sign
want
on a
that.
wall, there's a reason for it, right? So that's
Yep.
something.
If there's a rule on it, there's a reason it happened. That's why for some reason we have to have a rule on Tide Pods not to eat it.
Yeah.
We don't know why, but we just have it. I just want to comment that we have some pictures going through the stream right now. Right now you're seeing some of the pictures of the different spaces. I think this is the St. Clair one here going through, and then also some pictures of a Conestoga coming up next as well. It's kind of impressive to see all these ideas, these securities, comfort, experiences starting to see on one big area, and it's amazing to see what you guys have created and come up with and been involved with in this aspect. It's very impressive to see how these guys, uh the people that you work with at least, that just put your ideas and make it into such an amazing space for all students. It's quite the show to behold. Very very well done from all of you guys. I'm pretty sure that you didn't say anything yet, Valerie. You
No,
want to go next?
yeah. So at Sinclair, we're a bit of a unique situation. We are actually open for public access. We are also open for all students as well, and our operating hours are 10 a.m. to midnight. Um, so you can imagine there's a lot of foot traffic. Students play in our open gaming lab for free, and then public access is they pay hourly. I heard Chris mention like there's a time limit on that. We don't have a time limit on that. I like the idea though. But as you can imagine, there's a lot of traffic in our program. With It's the most popular destination for students on campus. we use it for our esports class students, our varsity players use it, and for reference, like we have over 15 teams that play and practice nightly. So we do have a booking system. We use GG Leap as a booking system, and that way it locks the computers for a certain time, and it'll literally say on the computer, this is reserved for Valorant varsity, and then it locks the computers for them, and they all have like administrative logins for that. But in terms of security protocols, I'm going to be very honest and give this perspective. We're not perfect. Things get lost. Sometimes people come in when they're not supposed to. Sometimes there's people there that we didn't notice they showed up. But that's the thing with a facility, is that we're always looking to improve that. And one thing we're going to push forward is the key cards. I actually heard Myra mention it for Keanu. You guys have actually like a scanner for a key card. We
Yep.
do not have that here. We actually
Yeah,
never implemented that.
Fanshow doesn't have that either. We just take their card and just keep it on a little slot until they're done with their area.
Yeah, so
We
that's
have that
definitely
also,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we're pushing forward. And aside from that, we also like have campus security that takes care of like the later hours and after hours and managing. They have like a list of players that are allowed to be in certain spaces. Another thing that actually helps us with the security is actually rules about lighting. I know like a few of you guys mentioned having lights off. We actually have a no lights off rule, because in a lot of our rooms, when they turn the lights off, we can't see if anybody's in
Mm.
there. So little rules like that, little details like that really help us with security, and it's just overall helps the facility. And we're not perfect, but we're working towards better procedures.
Is this something that you force for also players? Because I know players, at least in fanshow aspect, they don't really enforce that for if a team is playing within the room. But I know for public use, the lights always stay on.
No, we enforce for all players. Our lights have a dimming system. We let them dim it to the darkest setting, but you can't have it fully off, especially when they have after hours access. Like if you're here at 2 a.m., totally lights off. It's a safety concern. It's a health and safety concern, and we can't manage that. So yeah,
Mm.
that is a rule that we enforce across everybody.
Yeah, it's good it's refreshing. I hope that everybody that's watching on this stream right now it's refreshing to hear those aspects are happening, not just into their own schooling or post secondary location, but also to national wide. Because at the end of the day, all leaders have the mindset of wanting to keep everyone safe. I think that's a common sense that everyone has. For some reason, a lot of people don't think that it is, but it is, and it should be, in my opinion. If you don't have that going in, you should not be hosting a public space at all, in my opinion. Just because you need to be, if you're hosting a public space for people to have fun, you are a little bit responsible for that space to be welcoming, safe, and protected. I think that's fair for everyone. I just want to refer to a question in chat as well, that I just got posted onto my own little eyes here. Just gonna read it. How can we convince admin to buy into creating a gaming slash esports facility? And are there any key points people should bring up for those important conversations? Chris, if you want to start answering that one off.
Yeah, supposedly there's going to be a panel on this. Am I wrong, Myra? You made a comment there, or no?
Oh, I mean, we can just go on to the
Yeah,
question
for
now if
sure.
we want to talk about it.
All good. Yeah, for sure. It's a tough one. I did come into this kind of space prior to all of these decisions were made before I arrived at Conestoga, which is great. That's kind of part of my lead, is ensuring that this all works. But I do work very closely with administration above me as well, including our student success executives, the president, vice presidents, etc. And just ensuring that they understand, there is risk with opening these spaces, and that there's opportunity as much as there's risk too. And it's kind of us to prove that concept with, maybe it is starting with a small space like we have at Conestoga right now, a 3,000 square foot space, and then how with different champions in the region, we have the Waterloo Region Esports Commission, we have the Waterloo Catholic District School Board, who are really engaged with us on the collegiate side and have kind of proved that we need a bigger space and there's opportunity in the area for us to grow. Going through the cost analysis, bringing in the 4 people in this conversation to talk about the successes and the failures and the et cetera, on how these things kind of work. I'm having a conversation with another university right now who wants to open up a space. Getting as many people involved and then listening to the student body of what they want. And I've heard that a bunch of times in this group is the students know what they want as much as we think we know what they want. Times are changing and expectations are changing around the space. And the key thing is I've heard a lot before is like, if you build it, they will come. And that works to an extent. But if you look at what St. Clair's doing, they've built this amazing facility, but Valve's throwing events every single week to fill that space, and they're showing to their administration. And sorry to throw you into this, Val, but it's amazing. You guys are showing that this is the capability of the space, and hey, you know what? Now we need a 200 or 300 seat capacity arena. Can we do that? Is it viable? Is it presentable, possible, whatever it is? And I think, I mean, in their case, it could be. So, yeah, that's, I guess, a piece of my thought.
Yeah, I just want to interject before we move on to Valerie to kind of piggyback off that comment is that it's influencing even those around us. I mean, it's influencing those to see if we can find bigger and better spaces to bring up to the administrations, because otherwise, like events like the Fuel versus Western LAN wouldn't really happen without that backing of like, hey, we think this is a good idea. We want to show the people in that Canada wide that we are also doing the same thing in Ontario. We're having the same ideas, and maybe potentially there could be that idea of a 300 to 400, somewhere down the line of those aspects, and to see it actually going like processing now in real time and how well it's working is amazing to see. And I kind of want to hear some more comments from Valerie on that as well.
Yeah, so similar to Chris, I joined St. Clair when the facility was already built. But I do know the story of how it started. Sean Burney, my esports director, so he first started hosting events at St. Clair as a total outsider. He didn't even attend this college. He actually went to University of Windsor. But he started hosting events here. It was Saints Gaming Live, and it was an annual event, and it brought in so much foot traffic. It filled up their schedule for the summer because at a college, I'm sure you guys all know, there's nothing going on in the summer. It's an open space. It's a waste of power and electricity and just general like venue space. So Sean had this vision and he hosted this event there, and it brought in so much foot traffic, and that's where he kind of pushed. It was the proof of concept. He pushed it towards the college, and he started building out an academic program. And from there, one thing led to another. St. Clair also did start out with just one room. We only had one practice room with like maybe 6 or 5 PCs in there. And from there, like the proof of concept, they started out with competitive teams. They started out with the academic program. Once the academic program started bringing in students, which is what colleges want, recruitment numbers, they start bringing students. The competitive program started bringing in students for that as well on scholarship, and it just showed that they grew beyond the little room and bubble, and they were able to push for more. And as for currently, we're still not done. We still want to push for more always. And in our conversations with upper administration, when we do push for more, we actually use other schools as examples. Like we bring up Chris, we bring up Conestoga all the time. We bring up Keano too, actually. We bring up all the different schools, and we mention like, hey, like these guys are also pushing. They're catching up to us. We need to we need to stay ahead of the race. And just bringing up cases from other schools, like using other schools as examples and inspiration. That's something that I feel like a lot of people, when they push for facilities, don't think of doing, because where else would you get this data, right? You should be using other schools, your local schools, your other schools as case studies for you to push your cause. And for schools like Conestoga, Durham, you guys were the first venue. Like for schools like all of this, all the people here, it already exists. It already is the proof of concept. You can already skip that step with your school administration and show that it's worthwhile. It brings in value, and not only it brings in recruitment numbers, it brings in students. It's a student destination, and then external events like Chris was mentioning. Over here at St. Clair, we really pivot to external events. We run corporate events, birthday parties, like broadcast partnerships, anything. So yeah, that's my little just on that.
Yeah, Durn, Alex, do you want to talk about some of the Durman aspects as well on that as well?
Yeah, of course. So, like a lot of people here, I kind of came in, like I mentioned, 2 years ago. So the space was kind of established place on campus by then. But again, similar to how Val said, I kind of heard the story. Essentially, over at Durham, there's actually a really passionate professor. If you're on Twitch, check him out, Gamer Dad. He streams League of Legends all the time. Definitely not what you would presume would be your average streamer or gamer. But yeah, he was just really passionate, and he essentially, had connections with students on campus who in the early 2010s were just holding lands. Like they were just finding spaces on campus. They would hold lands once a year, and then kind of showing, hey, there is this community, there's this need. From there, they basically started connecting with kind of I would call them your ambassadors, whatever you want to call them, within actual faculty or admin. And those are the people who, can connect with the president, can connect with that higher administration, and kind of get those conversations going. So then, yeah, the space was built. And then I know now, essentially what a big thing in all the discussions I'm a part of is upper administration, they may not understand a lot about what you do every day, or they may not see the initial value in a potential gaming space, no matter what the size that you're looking for is. But in my experience, what they really listen to, or at least what gets you that conversation, is showing them that proof of concept, whatever that looks like to you. I know for us, or for me, it's a lot of like numbers. They really like numbers, so they want to know how many people are in the space, not just using the equipment, but even just coming to hang out, right? So recently, over the past year, we've actually implemented ways to actually count how many people, just foot traffic in the space. And we're basically showing them, hey, our foot traffic over semester has gone up X%. And then we're doing year over year comparisons. So those are really the numbers that they're looking at. And they're like, oh, wow, like, your foot traffic went up 25% since last year, or your student usage in the space went up X amount of hours, right? That's information that realistically, it's not very hard to actually start tracking. I know for us, like we just use a basic POS system. We don't charge students, but still putting them in, and it's giving us that back end information, right? So it's a $60 POS system that we bought, but the value is far exceeding that $60 expense for us. So
would you say, would it be like one of the key devices that you've used for statistics to be brought up to the higher administration, or is there something that has more of an impact?
Yeah, obviously, when we do host like larger initiatives, we try to showcase it. We do try to invite some of that upper administration to at least come out and like check it out, just so they're kind of feeling involved and they're actually seeing like hands-on the value that we feel that the space brings. But I just know from specifically us over at Durham, like that at least gets us that conversation, right? Showing them that kind of proof of concept. And I know specifically it's numbers are a very big thing for a lot of colleges. So
Yeah, that's amazing. Myra?
A big thing when you're a school that's looking to sell the concept of esports to your administration is not just focusing on the benefits towards esports and the gaming community. It's really about finding ways to make your ideas seem valuable for them. So finding ways that you can do academic integrations, finding ways that it can support already existing events and programs within the school, finding ways that it can fill those empty summer hours of everything from summer camps for grade school students to birthday parties to corporate rentals to everything else, taking your ideas and what you know will benefit the students and framing it in a way that feels like it benefits the rest of administration too is really the big thing. Because at the end of the day, the vast majority of them will not understand a single word you're saying about teams, League of Legends, games. They don't know a single thing about that. But what they do know is, as Alex is saying, numbers. What they do know is what they already have going on. And what they do know is how new programs can benefit what they do. A lot of times, especially with smaller colleges, you're looking for ways to diversify yourself to really stand out. If you're not one of those massive flagship schools, like what are the reasons a student would come to you, right? So finding ways that you can frame it to make it feel like it's their benefit is really the way forward with pushing it in general, whether that's starting a program from scratch, whether that's expanding it, really like anything at Keanu when I'm bringing up ideas of expansion or anything that requires, an injection of money, it's not talking about, oh, this is so awesome for us in esports and yada, yada, yada. It's what does this do to benefit the school? What does this do to benefit administration? Because at the end of the day, that is what they care about.
Yeah, and I know there's some struggles in other colleges that have that where they're just struggling to show or give the notice like we are impacting a four, not even a fourth, but just at least an eighth. But that's an eighth of 100,000, 100K, million, however the limit of how many students are total within that facility. Even if it's just an eighth of that, that's an eighth of let's say like a million students, big number, but that's an eighth of a million. That's such a large amount of students being impacted on a day-to-day basis consistently. And consistent, I feel like everyone every single person in this call can be able to accommodate that is needed. Consistency is needed to continuously impact on the experience of a student. And I feel like that just gives green flags, green lights to everyone up top. And that kind of goes into the next not really kind of goes to the next question, but it goes into something that I would like to ask in terms of the progressiveness and what future thinking you guys have in terms of maybe some of the upgrades that could provide the biggest return, some ideas that you have going forward, even with everything that you guys have accomplished with the experience, the everything above. What's some of sort of the plans that you guys have in stores in your locations that can give that satisfaction or user experience even more than what you guys have now? And I kind of want to start with Valerie on that.
So we talked about modular setups earlier. For the most part here, we are modular, except for our open gaming lab. So our tables aren't fully modular. They're kind of set up in a way that doesn't quite make sense for esports teams. For a visual, they're in islands of 6, so they're 3-on-3. And I mean, we all know games here. It doesn't make sense for any game. Overwatch is no longer 6 players, and I guess Marvel Rivals, but that's not even one of our top varsity titles. So our next goal is to kind of maximize our open gaming lab space to make sense for these teams to play, and create a more modular setup so we can move these tables around based on the game or based on the event. And something we were looking into as well. Nothing is super in motion, but we're thinking about it in the open lab. We feel like it lacks like a hangout space. The open gaming lab, it's purely just computers, and people just go in there, sit on a computer. Um, I don't remember which space had it. I believe it's Concord in the States. In their gaming
Mm,
lab, they have like a mini viewing area within the gaming lab, or just like a seating area where, in between games, you just want to sit down and hang out. And I think that adds so much value to the space. And that's something that we've been looking forward to in the future, hopefully. But aside from that, just creating a 100% dedicated modular setup. That's our goal right now. Most of our space is modular, like our pit, our tables and chairs, our console setups, our stage pods, our caster desks. They're all on wheels. They're all modular. The only thing that's missing is our open gaming lab. It's just kind of all set up the way it was. It wasn't set up with it wasn't quite set up with esports in mind. So we're looking to upgrading that to a modular setup and making sure it makes sense for teams to sit at.
that's exciting to hear. Like I know for a fact that especially in smaller spaces for places that don't have a grand area, having a common space to hang out is kind of a struggle because a lot of schools just have a tiny little computer lab area, so it gets really crowded when you have a bunch of people there just sitting doing nothing. You're trying to run the facility, but you also don't want to eliminate that hangout area because people make friends, people do activities there. They talk about what's going on, whether assignments, exams, or even gaming related terminologies as well. But you have to have. I feel like that's a necessity personally to have that space to be able to just be in that zone, like I mentioned before, that area where you can de-stress and just be with your own people, basically. And I feel like Conestoga, Chris, you want to expand a bit on that as well?
Yeah, for sure. I love Val, best term, modular. We're in the same position in our gaming hub here. It's not modular and it's set up the exact same way. So we must have had the same designer, 3 on 3 on 3 on 3. Obviously for the best game ever, which is Rocket League. Val, there's a game that's perfect for it. But jokes aside, our arena upcoming, the goal here is for it to be specifically an event space. Although esports owns it, we'll be able to move everything off-site into a storage area so that we can do whatever, and we can put 3 or 5 or 6 together in our stage or on the gaming floor, however the teams need to be set up. We're going through our our 3-year life cycle with our equipment as well. So that's kind of our refresh rate for any equipment that's purchased, and it's perfect timing for us to be opening the arena. So we're going to be procuring all new PCs, monitors, and chairs for the space to update them, and then also ensure for competitive integrity that everything's the same across the board upstairs in this hub and downstairs in the arena. And then if we have equipment, we have a plan for our equipment, which is going to be supporting the local community and ensuring that they get deployed and not just, sold or I don't know where they would end up actually. The last piece, I guess, for like upgrades in our space is working with our on-campus restaurant called Bloom, and working on a meal plan and meal integration for our athletes, and kind of that lounge area that Val's talking about is building out a lounge space for our students to eat and hang out during the day or before games or whatever it is, making sure that food and drinks are off of our
Protect the
gaming tables as well.
PCs,
It's going to
please.
be off site, no fast food or anything. But yeah, we're going to work on a plan with them to ensure for that. But that's a few things, and then unfortunately, like consoles are the big thing, right? Whenever the new ones come out, the students want the immediate new console.
We
So
gotta buy the Switch 2.
getting in line for the
Oh
Switch 2 and
my.
ensuring we can try to get those when they get released, like that's an expectation of the students. They think that the second a new console gets deployed, that we're going to have it immediately, and we got to do our best to serve the students for what they want. Some of them can't afford it and they want to play the newest games. Is it realistic? Sometimes no, but we'll do our best to ensure. But that's my piece on our campus.
Not with these prices.
No.
Ugh.
I mean, can you even just buy Switch 2s? Don't you have to like apply for it? You have to have like a
I
Nintendo
feel
membership.
like for the pre-order right now, but I haven't heard of that. All I know is
Yeah,
that the wallet is not ready to burn a hole that deep. It's not ready. I don't know about you guys, but I can't. That's a little bit too much, especially for that new Mario Kart game. $90. Actually, no, it's more. Is it more?
I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
remember. PTSD. We don't like it. But Myra, if you want to have some comments on that aspect as well, any upgrades, personal future things that you guys have, at
Well,
least in your
currently
aspect.
I am no longer with Keanu, so I actually want to take this opportunity to speak in the abstract and sort of give advice to a lot of different programs. I think one thing that people don't really do enough is zoom out on what the possibilities really are. If you look at a gaming space as a concept, it's really on a spectrum from two sides. You have the highest example of focused on individual users, which is the Korean style PC bangs. And then on the exact opposite side, you would have the facilities that so many pro teams like Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, etc., have that are solely focused on the teams and have no focus on any outside factors. As a school and an institution, you have to figure out where you fall on that spectrum, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be everything. You can't be everything. If you look at schools in the States, if you look at what pro teams are doing, again, if you look at the systems that are built out in Korea, it can give it so many insights into how to run things. If we look at Korea, there's so many different integrations of how they integrate food and comfort into their spaces with integrated ordering systems, private spaces for console rooms where 1 or 2 individuals can utilize it, having the built-in payment systems for anything going on too. If you look at some schools like Maryville in the States, and there's a lot of good schools in the States to look at too, especially when talking to administration much further than what we have in Canada, Maryville as a program is very focused on what they have internally. They, as a college, are very similar to what goes on in pro teams, where it is solely focused on their teams. So you as a college, you really have to understand what is our purpose, what are we actually trying to achieve, and take lessons from what's going on, not just in Canada, but rather what's going on in collegiate across North America, and more so what's going on in esports across the world. Because at the end of the day, there's still a ton for us to learn out in the West when it comes to esports compared to how far ahead China and Korea are, just in general. And that applies to everything with facilities. And again, in Canada, when you zoom out too, comparative as a whole to what American institutions are doing, we are also very far behind. And it's important to recognize that, not as a fault of our own, but as a way that we can improve and integrate some of these ideas that have been implemented very successfully into our own institutions.
Yeah, that's amazing advice. Honestly could not said it better, and it feel like even with you guys and the amount of experience you guys have, Conestoga, Durham, and Val with St. Clair, and even yourself with Keanu back then, and it's just it's good to see the forward outlook thinking that everyone should have and is having as well. I believe it's needed, in not only just to have confidence that progression will happen, accommodations will be made, and uh, a better experience than even what they've had. Even if you're hearing, it's in a perfect world, 100% positive feedback, what you can even improve from that standard. It's good to have that forward thinking. I feel like Alex with Durham, you can have some comments on that as well.
Yeah, of course. So I know looking forward to the future, we definitely are looking to shift comment name modular, the space again when it was built. Some of the design choices I personally wouldn't have gone with, but that's kind of how it is sometimes. So yeah, modular, and then I know every school is different. So some institutions do have some kind of system where you can simply scan a student card and it kind of pulls up the information and all that. Unfortunately, at Durham, the software that we use does not currently have that functionality. But again, that's an opportunity I saw to actually engage some of the academic programs. And, it's just me even sending a cold email to some program coordinators and being like, hey, here's our problem. Can we loop in students so they get real world experience, right? In some of those computer programming courses or whatever it is. And then that turned into a whole meeting. And now it's kind of a, that could be a capstone project potentially. So that's kind of what we're looking for in the future. But some of our most recent kind of integrations that the students really enjoyed. I know Chris kind of mentioned looking at the potential. We do have a on-campus food option actually within our specific building. So again, having that conversation with them, and we actually have mobile ordering where they just scan a QR code like around the space or directly on the PC, and there's actually a specific discount that any student in our space gets for food. So they've really kind of enjoyed that because students, it's already hard enough. They're focused on their education, so we want to kind of give them any financial relief. And then kind of our bread and butter in our space is consoles. So we recently in the past year upgraded all of the TVs to like OLED TVs. Which is basically like the top of the line. And like as soon as we swapped out the TVs, those were like the first comments that like the students immediately noticed like the difference that made. So it's even saying, it may not really seem super big to you, but even saying as simple as that, right? Because those TVs are being used, 8 to 10 hours a day. So why not make that investment in them as well?
Yeah, that's amazing to hear, and to hear like already ongoing feedback that you guys are already hearing like from immediate changes is probably a very very successful and happy thinking to have those immediate comments of like, wow, we love this, or ooh, new console, nice. It's very very amazing to have. Do you guys have any that's all questions that I have from me. Do you guys have anything you guys want to share, any special things, some sneak peeks you guys have from you guys' point of views?
I'd just like to share as like advice to anyone running a space or anyone who might be in a space in the future is be willing to try things out, even if it seems a little weird from the ideas that you might get from community members. One of the things that Keanu has had going on for a while, spurred by community members, is the weekly Smash tournaments in the space. And when they originally started, there's a lot of ideas they brought up that initially, in my mind, sounded kind of silly. But just letting people experiment, letting, trying things out and seeing where it goes is really how you can adapt to not just your student needs, but just ideas you never even thought of in the first place, right? At a certain point, we started integrating our public gaming space so they could run Rivals of Aether setups. We had it so that we could build a streaming. We had it so we could build out a streaming setup for them, right? Like we had it be so that we can work with the ideas that the community brings to us and really just adapt it that way, and just making sure that you, as an institution and as an individual, are open to new ideas, even if they seem a little weird.
Yeah, adding on to Myra's note, Smash and fighting games, like I don't know if you guys agree, but it's honestly the backbone of uh esports programs starting up. Almost every
Yep.
single esports program I know has started with a bunch of people in a room playing Smash. And then they pushed it on and, it got bigger and bigger. And keep in mind, your facilities, your lounges, it is for the students. You should encourage students, like we have an esports club here as well, to run events there, to use a facility. It's a free space. It's in, back when I was running events, many years ago, it was hell to find a space that was free of charge, especially a space like this where it's actually built for esports and gaming. Before I used to run events anywhere, it would be in a gym where power was not laid out for you, internet wasn't laid out for you, or I would run in an office space where the internet wasn't good enough. But in these esports lounges, these students don't realize how great they have it, and it should be encouraged for these students to run events here. Like we run, like Mara, we run Smash weeklies, fighting game weeklies, we run TCG events, everything like that. And although the venue should be used as a source of revenue by running events, it's also okay if you don't make, I guess, instant revenue from events in terms of, let's say, like an event fee. To be very transparent, we run so many events here at St. Clair. We do not charge like a flat out venue fee for these grassroots communities to run events here. So, for example, like TXP, they're a Call of Duty community. We don't charge them a venue fee. To us, it's valuable that they're bringing in people to the school. People are still buying Red Bull from the venue. They're seeing our facility. They're posting about it, and that's what's valuable to us. So I think there's just a lot of opportunities with these venues and gaming lounges that people don't see right away because it's not an instant profit. And it shouldn't be viewed as that way because we should be supporting the students and grassroots communities with these.
Yeah, I mean, attention and spreading the word of availability, I feel like is even more, it's just priceless. If you have people spreading like this venue is available, they will go, especially Smash. That fan shop started on Smash. I can count so many colleges that started on Smash and fighting games. I need more Guilty Gear Strive, please. I need more Guilty Gear Strive. It's fantastic to see. We are getting close on the time, but I just want to make sure. Alex, Chris, do you guys have any last comments before I end it off here?
I'm going to be quick. I'm going to say listen to everyone on this panel, more so than you listen to me. I am grateful for what I have and the experiences that I've gotten to provide to my group and for the students who are here. I'm going to take it from kind of one perspective of ensuring that you're communicating as best as possible with your administrators or decision makers at the college, as much as we're trying to listen, like Myra said, to the students and these wild ideas, because I get wild ideas from the top too. Giving that data that Alex was talking about to as many people as possible to sell this. It's really hard to. There's a ton of red tape in the collegiate space, right? It's really hard to have a decision be made, and we can propose and propose. Just be patient, be persistent as possible, and kind of understand what's going on in the college before you present some ideas too. On the other side, I'd say I'm going to make myself available to anybody that's listening, anyone in the Discord server that wants to talk about these, and I'm hoping that the group here shares the same. Yeah, there you go. Thumbs up in the chat. We've been through it. A lot of us have had the experience from all kinds of different worlds, and that's led us to this collegiate space. So my DMs are always open, whether it's on here or on Twitter, and I'm more than happy to give my experience and kind of work through proposals or any opportunities that are available in the space. But you got to take it from all sides, the student side, but as well as the administration side. And then we're kind of stuck in the middle trying to figure out and navigate the world from there. But that's my piece.
That's amazing.
And I'll go very quickly as well, just to kind of echo what everyone's saying. You know, no is not a final answer. I know in the moment when you get those no's, it's going to feel like, well, how are we going to move forward from this? Just look at it from a different perspective. You're going to get no's, probably a lot of no's before you get your yeses. But it's just never stop. And don't feel afraid to step outside that comfort zone, right? Just because it is a gaming space, that's not all it can be and should be, right? Kind of like we've been echoing. Like, for example, students really came to me. I saw a need. We have a very big anime kind of population. Like, that's our biggest club on campus. So I said, hey,
yeah.
what if we try doing a Comic-Con fan expo kind of event? And this was just like me shot in the dart. Like, you know, I talked to my managers. I'm like, I don't need a budget. I will reach out to vendors. We will not charge them any money. We just want them to come, right? Because again, it's all about the student experience. The first time we had 5 vendors, over 200 students came in a span of 4 hours.
Oh, that's amazing.
Second time we did it, 15 vendors, over 300 students.
Wow.
So I'm already planning in the fall. So I'm hoping we're going to reach 500 students, because I actually, again, showed that proof of concept. Now we're in the actual main building of our campus. So
You know what?
again,
700.
maybe next year. But again, you're going to get a lot of no's. Don't just, if you're really passionate about it, just really start connecting, and don't take no as your final answer.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I just want to say thank you to Valerie, Chris, Myra, Alex. You guys have been amazing. It's been a treat to be on this call with you guys. Thank you for giving so much advice, personal experience, and just impacting on why students come first. I'm just going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors at BMO as well, and Strawberry and Egg. Strawberry and Egg, they make plushies for you and of any anime and video game. Definitely check them out. They're amazing creators. And of course, BMO with their Twitch channel at Next Level, dedicating to help your finance and impact your favorite streams as well. You can join John's Frame at their !BMO Next Level. Student banking, of course, is what they help primarily with. And there is anything you can offer for students there. They have a lot of offers, plus some rewards that you can probably get the $100.25 cash, maybe, or 6 months of Domino Pizza. I know you guys love pizza.
Shit.
Can help
I
you
need to
in
be a
your
student
dorm
again to
life.
sign up for that.
We love it. But of course, definitely check them out. And they're also running a contest as well to have a chance to win one of 5 $20 digital Steam gift cards. So definitely check them out. !BMO and BMO Next Level down in the chat. I just want to say another thank you to you guys. You guys have been amazing. It's been a real treat to have you guys here. But if that's everything, we're going to be signing off into the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you.